think everybody's aware that for a long time in Australia, a brick and tile house was considered a proper house. And I think that was a historical movement. People were coming out of weatherboard houses and all other kinds of lightweight buildings which had a temporary feel to them. And I think especially in the years after the Second World War, a brick and tile house was seen as a house that represented solidity, that was built with proper materials.
The manufacturers of roof tiles and of bricks noticed that a number of developers were actually sort of starting to specify alternative materials within their estates and actually saying, well, we don't want you to use bricks and roof tiles here. And on talking to them and trying to understand it, we discovered that the real issue was what they perceived to be design rather than the materials. So we thought, well, how do we convince them that you can design houses that meet contemporary needs using traditional materials and get all the benefits of those materials? What we did is we searched out some architects that were willing to undertake a brief that said, we're going to build these houses within the financial constraints of an ordinary Australian home buyer. We also had to have a design that we could give to a standard project builder. We give them a set of working drawings that they could actually go and build without having to have specialised techniques. Then most importantly, it has to meet today's needs in terms of sustainability and environmental impact.
The challenge about this project was to produce something that met the market, that met people's expectations, that was easy and cheap to build, that was imaginative, and that showed off the attributes of traditional building materials like pavers and tiles and bricks.
The most challenging thing about the project was that very thing of breaking the perception that people have about roof tiles and heavy building materials being old-fashioned and unsuitable for today's modern lifestyle.
The unique thing, I guess, is in their approach. Certainly Harry Margalit, who's one of the partners in this practice, has always had a very strong interest in what he calls bulk housing. And that's what attracted us to this practice, that they weren't people that were just out there wanting to design $4, $5, $6 million houses. They want to show that you can design really good houses which actually are affordable to the average Australian.
There was a little bit of research. We had to go and see what's out there. We had to try and think what people were after. And then we had to think, what can we contribute? What do we bring as architects that we can make this a unique set of designs without necessarily reinventing the wheel?
The plan was fairly straightforward, but I think what was innovating was the look and the feel, and that was something that, for me in particular about the project, was really important. What interested me is how to capture the lifestyle in the aesthetics of the building that related to today.
Critical elements, I think, are about the composition of the designs. I think the look of the designs is very important. The planning is not as challenging in these houses, but the composition, the way one looks at the facade, the way one composes the facade, the way one uses different materials, I think that was the hallmark we wanted to stamp on these designs.
Our approach was actually, we would see these houses in a mass housing scenario, but there would be a series of different houses. That's why originally there were 6 houses, and combine them in different scenarios to produce, say, a large estate.
The outcome, the architects came back with 6 sketches, which they then produced small balsa wood models. So what we now have, in actual fact, is working drawings. A builder can take these houses and go and build them. We also have produced a streetscape through animation that allows us to see how these new designs will look if they're built rather than one on a block, but all 6 designs in a mix in an estate, showing the real benefit of this type of material and this approach.
The buildability of designs was really important because they had to be built very cost effectively. So the insides are fairly conventional, especially in how they're built. So there's no major structural elements that would not be found in a standard project home. In fact, we actually took the position that we don't want any large spans in the building. Everything is standard construction. All the windows and doors are basically off-the-shelf standard elements, just used in interesting ways and with the correct proportions in facades. So for builders and developers and people that want to take the project on, they already know that even though it's architect design, it's been considered within the context of cost-effective construction.
And I think what we've done is we've taken the best aspects of lifestyle and combined them with the external design to produce a great outcome.
The benefits of roof tiles are that they're solid, they have a long tradition, they're very durable, they have a beautiful texture, and they have a certain mass and presence that's hard to achieve with other materials. There's a solidity about them.
Roof tiles in terms of sustainability are, I believe they perform very well thermally, they have good mass, and I think there's also a visual component to that. So if we're talking about sustainability, it's not just the performance of the material but also how it looks and what it evokes.
Roof tiles remain visually very attractive. I think we've only begun to tap into their potential for roofing quite complex and difficult forms in quite a straightforward way because they are modular units. I think if people are really interested in durability, if they're trying to get away from a mentality that says you use things and throw them out, then I think these are exactly the sort of materials they should be coming back to.
Roof tiles are a really great place to start in terms of embodied energy. So it gives you a great foundation then to design your house in terms of its operation, living in it, to take advantage of those and to keep your overall environmental footprint as low as possible.
To put it simply, the houses had to look really good using these materials, using traditional materials. And so to break the perception of what traditional materials can do and put in a contemporary setting, and I think succeed in doing that is we're very happy with that outcome.
There seems to be a belief that tiles were yesterday's material. What we're actually saying, look, we've actually shown you with this material that it meets today's needs in terms of affordability, buildability and sustainability, while really looking good and giving the aesthetic outcome that they're looking for in their estates.
I love them, I'd live in them. So that's, I suppose, how I assess or judge my work is, would I be happy living in that house? And the answer is yes, I'm very happy with the outcome of the designs.
We've been very pleased with the outcome and we're looking forward to response and people building these houses.